Hi, this is the first video in a two-video series for Thales Cipher Trust RESTful Data Protection MCP server. This video will specifically focus on how you can deploy CRDP in a Docker container and then use this MCP server to interact with the CRDP services. So the first thing to do is you need access to a Cipher Trust manager. And once you log into the Cipher Trust manager, you're going to go ahead and create an application for CRDP. So go to the application data protection tile, click on add application, give this application a name and select the container type as CRDP. Now these settings on the next page you can modify according to your needs, but for the demo I'm going to use all the defaults. Finally, at the end, once the application is created, the application will return a registration token to you, which you need to save, and you will be using this token when bringing up the CRDP container online. So let me go ahead and save this token in a notepad file, and let's move to my Linux server on which I have installed Docker already. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the CRDP image from Docker Hub. Once the image is pulled, we are going to start the container, and we will supply the Cipher Trust Manager's host name, registration tokens, like and other environment variables necessary for the container to come online. Now, as long as all the settings are okay, you should see this message at the end, which says register the client successfully. And at the same time, on the Cipher Trust Manager, your active clients count for the created application will increase by 1. So it was 0 earlier, now it is 1. Okay, now that the CRDP container is up and running, let's verify that it's actually running and ready to service your applications. So I do have a Git bash installed on this machine, and I'm just going to use a basic curl command to contact the health API endpoint of the CRDP container. So as long as you get the status back as okay, you can be assured that the CRDP container or CRDP services are healthy. Now, since this is done, it's time to deploy the MCP server. Now, this MCP server has some prerequisites that you need to take care of before you can actually deploy the service. And here is a quick list. So let's verify if I have all these installed on my machine or not. So the first is Node. I've already installed Node on it. Next is npm, and the last is TypeScript. Oops. TypeScript. So I've got all the prerequisites met. The CRDP container is up and running. So I can go ahead and proceed with the rest of the instructions in the repository. So let me switch to the desktop and then just copy paste commands from the GitHub page. Now the cloning was successful. I'm inside this directory. The next thing is to do is to build all your node modules. So what we're going to do is we're going to do npm install. This will install all the dependencies, all the packages that this MCP server needs. And once the install is successful, completed, we are going to build the project, which will create a JavaScript file that runs the CRDP MCP server. So now the install finished. Let's go ahead and do npm run build. This will this has built our package in the dest directory. So you can see this JavaScript file just got created. Now, finally, to start the MCP server, all you have to do is npm start. By default, npm start starts the server in stdio mode, but you can also start the server in streamable HTTP mode. Now, to start the server in streamable HTTP mode, let me switch to PowerShell. I'm just more familiar with this tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up the required environment variable, which is MCP transport to streamable HTTP, and then start the server. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. And now let's do npm start. So here you can notice the difference, right? So previously when it started, it said the transport mode was HTTP IO, but now you have an HTTP endpoint for an MCP. Now to verify if this server is running as expected or not, there is a health endpoint implemented. So you can simply make a curl call to localhost on port 3000. Localhost 3000 and health. The status is returned as healthy. All right. Okay. So now let's test this server with the actual CRDP endpoints. So I'm going to set my environment variables, put the MCP transport variable back to stdio, and then I'm going to launch my model context protocol inspector. So this should open up a browser tab for me automatically. And here we have to make sure that the transport type is set to stdio, and simply just clicking on connect should connect to the MCP server, as you can see here. Now let's go to tools, list the tools, and see all the available tools that this MCP server exposes. Now, before we can actually reveal and protect data, we will have to create some protection policies on the Cipher Trust. So we'll get to that in a minute. But before that, there are some tools that you can execute out of the box without needing any protection policies. So, for example, if you want to check the liveness of your CRDP container, you can check the health of your CRDP container. You can get metrics from your CRDP container. But for every protect and reveal operation, you're going to need to set up some protection policies that happen on the Cipher Trust Manager. So I'm going to go back on the Cipher Trust Manager, create two protection policies really quickly, and then test that with Model Context Protocol Inspector. I'm going to pause the video, going to come back once the protection policies are created. Okay, so I've created two protection policies, and let's test these policies using MCP Inspector now. So we're going to go to protect data first, and then I've created a policy for email. So let's just enter an email and see what happens. So I'll enter a test email as johndoe@example.com. My protection policy is called email underscore policy, not using a jot. So once I click on run tool, you can see that the email has now been, encrypted, format preserve encrypted. So you can copy this value and now go back to reveal data to get the plain text back. So I'll specify the protected data, the ciphertext. I'm going to specify a user who's authorized to see the data. Policy name will be email underscore policy, and then let's run the tool. You can see that the protected data has now been converted back to ciphertext. Similarly, there is also a sample policy for SSN. So I'm going to test that now. Once I run this tool, you can see that the original value is now different. And you can similarly use the reveal tool to get the plain text back, as you can see. Now, finally, it's time to integrate an AI assistant. So I'm going to open cursor, go to the settings, and we're going to find tools and integrations. Under tools and integrations, there is a section where you can add your own MCP servers. So let's click on custom MCP and populate this with the CRDP server details like this. So let's save this, close this. It should detect an MCP server and it's showing green, which is healthy, which is good for us. Now let's do the same thing that we did in inspector, model context protocol inspector. So let's ask the AI assistant to protect an email. Okay, all right. So you can see it picked up the correct tool and it has finally secured the data, encrypted the data, and given us the ciphertext back. Now you can do the reverse as well. So you can say something like reveal my protected email using the same policy as before. Now it should call the reveal data tool. All right. As expected, we should get our email back. So you can see, it was able to use the tool to protect data and reveal data. Similarly, you can try out the bulk protect and bulk reveal operations in this MCP server.